Hey everyone, it's Jason and welcome to The Hunger. A deck building racing game, kind of, by Richard Garfield. So yeah, it's not something I thought I would I love deck building games. And the theme is very interesting. Just not something I normally expect. So just a quick start, if you're not familiar with what a deck building game is, it is where everyone starts with either the exact same deck or a very similar deck to each other. Like they might each have like one or two extra special cards specific to them. But they're usually pretty basic cards, which involve something along the lines of like moving, attacking, or buying other cards. Some way to either eliminate cards off the board or to gain additional cards for their deck. And then as the game proceeds, you essentially buy or recruit, or however the game determines it, to get more cards, and then your deck gets better and better. And there are ways to sometimes get rid of them starter cards, so that way you're not drawing them. So like first turn you might have a card, like this game example, you might have a card that lets you move 2 speed, and you might have a card that does like 1 damage, right? And then as you go on the game, as you play later in the game, you're going to start getting cards that let you move 3 or 4 spaces, maybe do 2 or 3 damage. So they just get better and better. Or other different abilities. You might get stuff that start letting you draw extra cards or do extra actions. So that's it, basically deck builds. As instead of like Pokemon, Magic Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, stuff like that, where you create your entire deck, then you sit down and you play the game. Here you start with a base set of cards, and as you play, your deck gets better and better. And that way, every single player's deck should vary throughout the game depending on which different cards you get, because nobody should be buying the exact same cards every turn. Yes, it's a really neat idea there. And you can kind of play to your style, also what's available. So your style might have to change from game to game, depending on what's available. So, why do I mention this is kind of also a racing game? So, here's the premise. Hunt your prey with a vampiric might, but return to the castle before sunrise. So, this is the whole part. You race across the board to hunt the most precious prey and find the eternal rose. So, you're going around this map. You're going to have to move from the beginning of this labyrinth that you start in, these graves, and you have to try and get to the castle before the end of the game. If you don't, you lose. Sunrise comes up, you burn to death because you're a vampire. Hunt the right cards to fit your strategy and build your deck. But search crypts for missions, but beware bad hunts that may slow you down. So yeah, in how you purchase cards is you go on hunts at certain areas. And then when you do, though, is then you get whatever cards are there. So, and we'll kind of get into that when we look over the rules, but there's basically like, there's different levels. There's essentially slower to faster characters. And sometimes the cheaper option might not be the best option. You might get more cards, but you might get cards you don't want. But it might be only what you have the option for. Do I take this good card and this bad card, hope they even out? Or do I only take one mediocre card? It's kind of thing like that. This is make sure you're back to the castle before sunrise or get burnt to ashes. Yes, it's a really neat thing. We'll kind of look through the rules here. And look at some of the components before we actually jump in to all the rules. So first of all, we're going to have a big old board. It actually folds out. It is fairly large. It is the map you play on. Yes, this thing is pretty big. It is double-sided. But pretty much the only difference in the double-sided is there are specific cards and tiles in the game, as well as the board. They're listed for playing Rookie or Easy mode, and Elder, which is standard mode, essentially. There's not a hard difficulty. But the Rookie version just gives you a little bit more leeway. Maybe it's your first time playing the game, maybe your first time playing a deck builder. So it just lets you like reshuffle the deck in a way so you're getting certain cards on the top, and it makes the end game a little bit easier because normally you have to get back to the castle to win. If you're playing easy mode, you just have to be in this big white area. You lose points, so you're not going to but you don't automatically lose. Otherwise, it's the exact same board, like all the other spots and everything else are in the same location. And we'll look at those in a little bit. We'll look at some of the other things we're going to do. Each player is going to get a little character card for themselves saying where their player is, their digest, which is their like remove from play area, your deck, and your discard pile, as well as some token spots you can hold. And then we have 6 different characters to play as. The back side, in case you don't want to have little spots for the treasures, you don't like that, you can just use a big area like this as well, which is really cool. So maybe like more advanced players, so you don't really care for them having those spots for the tokens. We will get tokens for each character to mark them on the board, as well as scoring tokens. We will get the hunt board. The top will keep track of how many turns. You have 15 turns. This is what also makes it a little bit of a racing game, because it's not necessarily who gets there to the end type of race, but you have to be able to finish it. So like you can be doing the best ever in the game. You can, oh, I got 50 points, I'm winning the game. Except you don't get to the end, you lose. Regardless, against someone that had 20 points. So it's an interesting, that's why I said it's kind of a racing game. What's also neat about this board is you have your different, these are hunt spots I was talking about. You can buy 3 cost, 2 cost, or 1 cost. 1 will get you a lot more cards, but you have to wait longer to get there. But then it adds is these extra little boards that have these little like arrows that kind of help it snap in there, hold it. So if you're playing with more players, you can add another 2 spots, another spot there, or just a single spot if you're playing with less players. So that's actually really cool. You can add these in there, just like a extra 3 spots with just 1 spot, or add all of them, depending on how many people you're playing with. Although there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spots, and there's only 6 characters. So I'm not really sure why they have that many, unless it's just if you want to play 6 versus, it's supposed to be 6 versus if you want to play 5, or if you want to play 3, you have different options there. And those don't have anything extra special on the back. Then we have a bunch of tokens. So on the back side, these are going to be little crypt tokens. These are called missions. So you can pick these up throughout the game if you like. They're going to give you extra little things to do, special effects. Then we have treasures we can pick up as well, which will get you victory points and special effects. And so there's all the different things. We'll kind of look at these a little bit later as well. But there are a couple different things to note in there, just as a quick reference. The yellow ones are instantaneous. They activate and they do something, where the white ones you have to do something or use them when you want to. Sometimes end of the game, sometimes things like that. Then the ones with the white text in there are the rookie versions. They're the easy ones. You put them towards the top, so you draw them quicker, or go through them first. Then we have all these different tokens that you can pick up, which give you various different effects, such as like getting 2 extra victory points, drawing a card, extra speed. Paracel lets you protect yourself at the end of the game. Get certain human characters you can eat. Then these blood tokens are for the end of the game, depending on how many players you have. And you stack them up, so basically if you get to the end, you get bonus points. So the first player to get to the end could get like 10 points. So again, racing aspect. If you get there quicker, you could gain bonus points. But if you take your time and you get there towards the end, you'll get less bonus points, but you might have spent an extra 2 turns doing something better. And we have, I'm kind of rushing through this. We have the Hunger, the starter set, which will have little S's in the corner. So there's 6 cards for each player, and then it starts back over. They'll have their little picture in the bottom corner, just so you know, like, these are for these, 6 these are for these, but they're the exact same cards for each character. And they'll give you your base abilities and what to do. Then we have our upgrade deck, which again have the same backs, of course, which have new vampiric powers. Some of them have this little A in the corner for the rookie mode. I don't know why it's not an R. Unless it's supposed to be an R, but I'm pretty sure that's an A. I think it's A and B on the board. But it should have an R for rookie mode, E for elder mode, I guess. But then some of them don't. So we do have some vampiric strength that have different effects on there or different costs. Just depending on if they're regular or rookie mode, which is kind of interesting. The other cards you can get to add into your deck are familiars, which give you like permanent effects. a bunch of different animals. The rose, which you can find if you get to the castle. This is again this is a nice reward you can get throughout the game, which gives you extra permanent abilities. There's 3 different roses, so if you're playing a 4-player game, only the first 3 players of the 4 will get one. Then the last element are the humans. These are the characters you are hunting. So you're going to use your vampiric powers to hunt down humans. There are military humans, there are noble humans, there are religious humans, and there are villager humans. What's really awesome is that every single one of these cards is different. There's no duplicates, at least not name and picture-wise. Some of them might have roughly the same abilities. So like Boris and Ivo both have 2 victory points, 0 cost, and 2 points there. But they're different names and everything, different artwork, which is really cool. So that's the base of our game. Alright, so let's hop in and actually see how the game is played. Then we can go back in and look at the thing. So you have exactly 15 turns to hunt your prey, collect as many victory points as possible. You can set up Elder or Rookie mode if you want, just different scoring options. So the anatomy of a card here. So we have speed at the top, which is how many spaces you get to move. And it also works for buying and hunting. It's basically your currency for the game. Owner, starting card, type of card, effect, name. Pretty easy. And then a hunt card anatomy has lots of the same stuff. Victory points. You earn as soon as you hunt this card. So as soon as you hunt them, you automatically gain victory points. Type of card, name, effect. They have hunting effects at the bottom. So there's a dark effect, gray spot, or dark effect is the, or frame, is a hunting one. So when you hunt this, you gain that ability. If it's a tan color like these, so when you play it, and if it has a little blood symbol in there, then it's an end of the game effect. So that's kind of neat. And then there's some different symbols in there. Starting power have gold borders versus regulars. The different types of humans, familiar, items, villager. Because some cards may reference those. Setup it's a little convoluted. I'm not going to get into all the different aspects of it. I kind of want to get into the components of the game, but more or less you're going to set up your deck like this. You're going to have pick which side of the board you want to use, whichever difficulty. Number 11 here are all these mission tiles. So you're going to go ahead and play all of them down. Each mission has a certain number, so 5, 5, 5, 4. Couple of different ones. There's 6 at the end. So you get some for different areas. Different victory points depending on how many players you have. So getting up to 6 players, and the last one gets that. So each player will get one of the victory point tokens. You just get less for each time. You're going to put all the chests, the bonus tokens of chests, face down on every chest space. Store the rest of the tokens in the box. So there will be various treasure chests around the board. If they're open, you play them face up so you can see what they are. If they're closed, you play them face down. So you have some closed ones up here. So you don't know what ones those do. This is then reveal the ones that are open. But you want to place them all face down first so you don't know which ones are which. But that's going to randomize your rewards throughout the game, which is very interesting. Cracked my neck there. After you make your hunt deck over here, you're going to shuffle up all the cards, put one card in each space for the hunt deck, depending on how many different ones you have. Set your tracker up there. But then you're also going to have over here, you're going to have a special hunt deck called the Tavern, which you'll have 3 extra cards in. There will be things that might ask you to get cards from the Tavern, so there'll always be 3 that might, there could be potentially up to 3 in that spot for you. Then each player gets their deck. They shuffle up their deck. They draw 6 starting cards. They get 2 mission cards. They choose one, they discard the other. So they get some options right off the bat, which is pretty fun. Yeah, so lots of that stuff it's pretty easy. You just set the board, set your victory tokens down here. Lots of things have indicators where everything goes. But yeah, you're going to put your vampires down here. So you start here at this castle. And then you need to, like, exit out of the castle, go through everything, get to the rose, hopefully, then come all the way back. So you're going through the board twice. It's kind of interesting how that works. So you want to run to get that rose, and you want to get back. But maybe you don't get to the rose, and you decide, I just have to turn around. So it's kind of an interesting, again, like, racing aspect to the game. Yeah, it's kind of like anything else that's sort of missed for basic setup that kind of needed to be pointed out. Not really. So turn order would be the last one. The first player's turn depends on the vampire speed. At the speed on their cards. So you look at each player's first set of cards. Whoever has the most speed goes first. And then you kind of determine it from there. You can kind of determine however you want. Then turn order. So turn order is kind of interesting on here. Turn order is priority per region. So vampires from the forest area, which is the top part of the board, get to go first. Then vampires in the plains, which is the bottom. Then the mountains, and then the cemetery. So it's more or less saying you go in reverse order. So as you get farther away from the castle, you get to go first. And then, so you get better rewards for being farther out. Because I don't think there's anything that says, like, you couldn't keep bouncing just back and forth in, like, one area. Like, you don't have to try and go all the way to the rose. But again, it's definitely worth a lot of extra points. So your turn is divided into 3 steps. Activate your discard draw steps, calculate your speed, spend it to move your vampire or hunt one at a time, end your turn. So how this basically works is like this. You have 3 cards in your hand. You might potentially have more if you've drawn more cards or gained them somehow. But then you play all your cards down in whatever order you would like. Then you activate all your discard and draw effects in order. So you'd have to do this one, then this one has an effect. But what can happen, though, is those discard or draw effects might get you new cards, which will add you new effects, or they might end up discarding another card. So it says, example, you have drawn your vampire strength because you have it. Teresa in play, this starts if you have a human in play, you draw a card. Then you jump over to Vampiric Will, which is your 3rd card, to discard Teresa and draw 1 card. So discard 1 card. So you don't then gain the bonus from her. You don't get to use any of her effects. But because she actually has a negative effect, it kind of works for you. So that's kind of a neat way to do it. Then you calculate your speed when you get done checking those. So you have 2 plus 2 plus minus 1, so it only gets you 3. So again, some of the humans will get you victory points to win. But then once you're in their deck, they're going to give you negative effects. You kind of got to balance that out a bit. Then, to move your vampire, it's pretty simple. You are never forced to move unless the card says otherwise. If your speed total is 0 or negative, you can't move. If your speed is possible, you can use all of it to move in one direction. You can change paths when you hit an intersection, but you can't move forward and then come back on the same path. So you can keep going forward, or one direction, either back or forward, but you can't go 3 spaces forward, 2 spaces back. You could wrap around somewhere, or your next turn around. That's up to you. If you move, trigger the board effect only on the space where you finished your movement. So landing on a specific space makes a big deal. If you land on a space occupied by 1 or more vampires, you may push them, and it just moves them to another space. Then you hunt. This is if you have any speed left after moving, you may now hunt 1 time, taking 1 card pile from the hunt track. To hunt, choose one card or pile of cards on a space of the hunt track and spend the required speed. 1, 2, or 3. Hunting a rose is for free. You must take all the cards from the space. All unspent speed is lost. So it's showing here that in this first column, these cost 3 speed to buy either one of these cards. But they're the newest cards that have come out. And 2 would be second, and then 1 would be the last. So at the end of every turn, everything kind of pushes over, and they'll eventually all start piling up in 1. So after 3 turns, you could buy 1 card and get a lot for 1 speed, but you're going to end up with whatever's stuck in there. There might be negative cards in here. Like this guy's going to give you -1 speed. So you could wait a turn and get 2 cards, or you could buy him for a little bit more speed and then not have the extra negative effect. So there's some different things there. Since if you wait too long, you might get that. But now you can buy 1. I could buy this 3, and if I had 5 speed, I could also buy this and choose not to move. So yeah, the farther you move through the board, which you need to be doing to get to and from the castle, affects how often you can hunt. You hunt too many times, you're not going to be moving. You move too much, you won't be hunting and making your deck better. So it's an interesting give or take. There are a couple different types of cards we kind of talked about. Humans, familiars, powers, and roses. So we'll look at them more when we get there. End of your turn, flip your vampire token to its resting side. Discard all other cards other than permanent from your play area, activate any end of turn effects, and then draw 3 new cards. Just as basic deck building, right? Every turn you play, every card you have in your hand, you do your effects, and at the end of your turn, you discard, you redraw. So as you purchase new cards, they go in your discard pile. Then when your deck runs out, you reshuffle. Now you have access to those cards. So that's pretty cool. But like that, most things you get like 5, 6 cards in your hand. You only get 3 in here normally. Prep for the next turn. So after all players have taken their turn, move the moon to the next space, to show you progressing your turn. Flip all vampires to active side. Move all remaining cards on the hunt track to the next column. So it's going to show all them moving over just 1 space, even if there's nothing there. You can always check all the stuff stacked in pile 1. So nothing's ever hidden information for that. Draw new hunt cards unless you're on turn 15, 1 for each space on the 3, and then add 1 card to the tavern if there are no cards, no vampires, and less than 3 cards there. Yeah, so that's kind of neat. And then final scoring of the game. So depending on difficulty, it's like the plains of the forest, vampires are burned to ashes by the sun. They can count their victory points, but it's just for the glory. So if you don't get back to the end, again, you lose the game. Mountains, if you're in rookie mode, the mountains are burned by the sun that manage to take cover and come back to the castle. They lose a number of victory points indicated on the spaces on the mountains. Elder mode, which is standard again, vampires are just burned ashes. In the cemetery, vampires here take cover and they each lose 5 victory points. In the castle, they are safe. So there's some other different stuff. There's some mission scoring. Each player gains points showing to the public missions if they've met the requirements. Each player reveals their missions and score them. Most missions require you have more than each of the other vampires, not equal to any of them. If you have reached 100 victory points, flip your score to the 100 side and start from 0. Most victory points wins the game. There are some card bonuses. Add victory points from cards at the end of the game. So if you have Roxanne and Cynthia give you 4, Hunters give you as many as they have. The same type as themselves. Echo Wolf gives you as many as you have wolves. So some are just end of the game effects. But you'll have that little blood token instead of a different icon. There's bonus effects. There's bonus icons on the boards and on some of the cards. Discarding familiar roses. There's also bonus tokens, which we'll look at when we get to those a little bit more. Special card effects. We'll kind of read when we see what they do. So the last thing I kind of want to look at for the game is actually on the board. There are special board effects. In the castle, you can't hunt in the castle. Each vampire comes back to the castle, takes the highest remaining victory point, immediately scores that many points. You can't leave the castle after you come back. You can't push a vampire to the castle. There's a well in the castle for spicy or mist effects. So once you get back to the castle, your game is over. So if you rush back too early, and you're like, I want to make sure I can get there, and you end on turn 12 of 15, you can't do anything for the last 3 turns. So you kind of got to debate that. Cemetery spots, which are little crosses. You can't hunt humans in the cemetery. You can't push a vampire. Chests. Take bonus chests if there are any. Add it to your player sheet face up and immediately score 2 points. There's no limit to the number of bonus tokens you can have. So even though the boards here show 5 spaces, you can collect more than 5. My guess, though, is there's probably not going to happen terribly often. Crypts with little blood icons gain a mission. The Labyrinth, which has the rose. Hunt one rose of your choice at no cost, which counts as your hunt, so you can't do another one. The Market, Church, Mansions, and Barracks, which are the different colors for the humans, but have little people on them. You can digest a human card of a corresponding human type from your discard pile or your play area. It can be a human you hunted this turn. So digestion means basically removing them from play. This is a way to get bad cards out of your deck. So if we had some of them humans that had -1 for speed, or might have another negative effect you don't want, this is a way to get rid of them. And just that way you don't have to deal with cards in your deck. Ship, you can't hunt on a ship. The Tavern, you can hunt all cards in the Tavern for 2 instead of hunting on the track, but you don't get to see what those cards are. So it's a gamble. You could get 1 to 3 cards, depending on how many are in there at the time, but you don't know what they're going to be. And the Well, if you have 1 extra hunt this turn, it can only be used on the 1 column of the track. So that's very interesting. And then we have missions. Take all available missions from the space in your hand and replace all but 1. You can replace one or more, even all of your previously unused missions this way, and take that many new missions from the stack. You can't discuss or mention. For example, you pick up 6 missions in the Crypt of the Mountains, you now hold 7. Put 5 missions back and keep 2. They can be the starting missions and new ones, or 2 new missions. So you already have 1 mission you start the game with, so you're going to get to draw a second one. This is a way to get more missions, but you're always going to put back all the rest of them. In Rookie mode, you get available missions and pick 1, put the rest back on the board. You may only return the missions that we were just looking at, never ones you previously had. You might say, well, why would that actually be less of an event? It's the idea is that way you're not, it's to make the game quicker so you're not debating on what to do. Alright, so that's the basics of the rule. Let's kind of look at the cards, and some of this will explain themselves. But let's look at the board first. We're going to look at the rookie side because it has more information. So we're going to start up here is the Labyrinth. That's where the rose card goes. You have the little rose symbol. There's like a treasure chest. There's just some blank spots. There's a well. Then you can go over here. Here are your crypts for your missions. You can see where they kind of tie off onto those spots, which is really nice. The houses are kind of the color robes of what they are. So like blue is noble, red there's for military, and they even have little like their symbol spaces on there. There's some open treasure chests, but you also need to get over here is where you have option of taking this railroad track or taking the cobblestone path, and it gets you 2 different paths to take. So if we kind of look at the board, the outside is going to get you a lot more treasure, but you also there's treasure all across the entire bottom here, but then you lose access to the well, the human, the missions. So it's kind of a which way do you feel like going. You might go one way, you might go the outside way, which is the longer route on the way over, but then take the inner path on the way back. And then when you get down here, you actually get 2 different ports, docking stations, which get you to let you go on the water. So now you actually have a 3rd path, which has less spaces, so you can get around the map a lot quicker, but there's fewer things to gather, because you can't hunt on any of the ships, so you lose less space there. And then here's a convergence point back over here, so you can swap or go back the other directions. There's a yellow building, there's a white building. So there's only 1 village for each different thing. Nobles for digesting. So you might want to maybe go back and forth a couple times if you need to get rid of these guys. It's not necessarily just going from start to finish, go to the start to the labyrinth and back to the castle. You might go back and forth down these paths a few times depending on how much speed you make. Because you might think about it, but if you have like the base game, they're just showing you like 4 speed. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn 2. I mean, like as you're gaining more speed, you're gonna get more stuff. The tavern is only located up here. So there's only 1 tavern, so there's not multiples of lots of these. Then when we get into this area, now you can see the negatives on there for your points if you don't get to the mountains. And then into the crypt. And then your spaces are basically, the crypt here are these ones right here, kind of blocked off a bit. Then the mountains. Then the plains is everything on the bottom, and then the forest is the foresty looking area. Now they do it, you can kind of tell them apart. I'm one hand glad that they didn't put like big highlighted borders on there, because it would have kind of, I guess, ruined some of the immersion. But on the other hand, it would have been a little helpful so you knew which area was which. On the bottom, we have our victory point tracker. So that's just going to show all of those. You get different victory points. It's showing that you gain +1 for different areas. Yep, that's our board. And the other one's the exact same, just without those extra numbers in some of the other areas. Here we don't have any numbers in that area. Alright, we're going to look at the cards, and then we'll look at the tokens. Alright, so each character at the beginning of the game is going to be the exact same. Now, to note this, there is also 2 different sets of promo things you can attempt to obtain. The difficulty is going to vary depending on where you find them. But they have new player boards that have special abilities, and they have special starter cards. Which I will go over some of that in a later video, because it's not part of the base game. I don't want to go. I just want to mention that they do have 2 different alternative ways to make your characters different during the game. Each character will have their own little token, but otherwise, yeah, you start up the game, just either pick whatever color you like. Hey, I like blue, or I like yellow, or red, or purple, or whatever, or pick what characters you seem fits better. So we have Lady Beatrice. We have Boris Pouchkin. We have Don Gervasi. Hoko Cheko. I probably butchered that. Josephine Lafette. And finally, we have Rajesh Armara. So it's kind of cool, just some different characters. Again, nothing different between them other than their colors. Then we have our starter cards. So again, each starter card will have the symbol of the character, but they're all the exact same cards. So each one, that's just that way if they start getting mixed up, you can shuffle them out very easy. Just look for the 6 with those pictures. I actually think that's a really cool way to do starter cards. Versus other deck builders where it's like the same starter card for 6 players. Except usually it's like 3 of this card, 7 of this. And it'd be kind of neat if they went like, this is like, just put a little A in the corner even. These are for character A, this is for player character B. Just that way you could like sort them out really quick at the end of the game. Oh, cards A, cards B, gotcha. Just to make sorting these guys out a little bit easier for later. We're going to start off. This has The Hunger based off the name of the game. So it's going to be, gives you 2 speed, little vampire flying down after a guy, getting 1 victory point for each human you hunt this turn. So yeah, buying the 3 slot or the 2 slot with 1 character, not as great for this, as opposed to if you spend it on the 1 and you buy like 3 or 4 characters. But again, that's waiting later turns to get cards. We have Vampire Thirst, which has 1 and an asterisk. It says asterisk or 3 if you have at least 1 human in your playing area. So it costs, it gives you 1 speed if you're really hungry, but if you've eaten, because you have a human in your play area, you get 3 speed. So that's kind of a neat little bonus. We have Vampire Strength, gets you 2 speed. Draw 1 card if you have at least 1 human in your play area. So each one of these are they're not bad, they're just giving you the bonus. So like the speed, but then every time you have a human or interact with them, you're going to gain better. Then we have, the last one is we have some Vampire Speed cards, which are kind of neat here. So we have 2, and then we have 3, which he gets closer. And then we have a 4 cost, which he got even closer. yeah, that's kind of a neat way to have the same card, but multiple times. So you kind of get you a little bit closer. But yeah, so like in your first hand, you could potentially, you know, like if you got really lucky your first hand, you could get 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 speed at most. And then if you have a human, you could actually get a really good hand of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 speed in one turn. That's not bad, just for your starting cards essentially. Although, well, I shouldn't say that because depending if you have that one for Thirst, you'll have that in place of one of the others. But yeah, you could definitely get some good combinations in there. And again, every character is going to have the same ones. Thirst, Strength, and then 3 speeds. Same thing just for each different character. So I'm not going to go through all of those because they're the exact same. Now, all the rest of these cards, they get mixed into the hunt as well. So the hunt isn't just humans. It's also going to be powers and familiars as well. So those will all get mixed in there as well. Obviously, humans are going to get you victory points for abilities. These ability cards don't get you any victory points, but they'll get you more of the ability to get more abilities and victory points. So we have Vampiric Will, which we have 3 versions that have the rookie version. I got a little A in the corner. So it gives you 1 speed, has discard. So you may discard 1 card to draw 1 card. Now, it's an optional. You don't have to, but it could help you get rid of some other card you played. Hey, I played my other 1 cost card. It's not really helpful. Let me discard it, draw a new card. Might get something better. We do have an alternate version, which gives you 0 speed. And I like that they flip the art to show that's the Elder version. And these are also called Vampiric Will. You may discard 1 card to draw 1 card, then you may discard to draw 1 card. So it gives you double option. No speed, but you can get rid of 2 other cards that you had to draw 2 other ones. Then we have 3 copies of Vampiric Strength. So this looks like the same art as Vampire Strength on here. So it's the same, basically the same artwork, maybe a little bit, that one's a little bit farther away than this one. But Vampire Strength turning into Vampiric, which has 0 speed, but it says you may draw 1 card at 2 cards if you have at least 1 human in your play area. Just for getting an extra bonus for having more characters. And more card draw is just going to get you through your deck quicker. So yeah, you're not gaining the speed to buy other things, but it will let you do other stuff. Also, you could play this card first, do your draw effect, then have Vampiric Will to your discard, which happens afterwards. And then discard. You've already used its effect, and you can draw a new card. We do have the alternate side of -2 speed. You may draw 2 cards and 3 if you have at least 1 human in your play area. We have some more Vampiric Speeds. 2 copies of those, which have level 3 speed. And then we have 2 copies of the 2 cost one. Form of Mist, which is, I'm always going to do the A ones first, the rookies. You may teleport to the next well in any direction instead of moving this turn. That could be very helpful. And then Form of Mist, you may teleport to the well in any direction instead of moving this turn. So same ones here, same abilities, just, one for each effect. And sometimes that's going to happen. They may not always be different. Form of Back's the same thing, one for the rookie. When you move, you may skip spaces that contain wells or vampires. So this just lets you get a little bit farther through the board quicker. And then we have 2 copies of Vampiric Stealth, one for rookie, one for not, which have you may hunt an extra time this turn. This is going to have that little bat symbol on there, which just says +1 hunt. That's all it is. It's just a symbol to help reference what that card does. Same thing like the drawing and discarding. They just threw them on there. The symbol is on there so you can realize what the card is without always having to read them. And our last 2 abilities. or 2 copies is Hypnosis, which vampires like to do. Move 1 card on the hunt track 1 space up, down, left, or right. That's pretty impressive. So these are different cards. So nothing super crazy or out of the ordinary. They're mostly just gaining you additional movement, letting you move certain spaces or draw or discard cards. Fairly basic stuff, and that's the thing. This game isn't about having like super complex, crazy combos like some other deck building games get. You know, I think of like Legendary off the top of my head, Marvel Legendary. They have stuff where you end up being like, if this guy's in this space, it does this, and then this triggers if you play these other 3 cards. These aren't as crazy as that, because the focus is to try and get across the board and hunt humans. And the humans might have some more interesting abilities. But your vampire powers are very basic and simple, which is, I think, pretty cool. Alright, then we are going to look at our familiars. This is where stuff will get a little bit crazier. So when we get familiars, they become ready and permanent. And I don't know if we're going to stay and play it when they are permanent. Ready. When you hunt or gain a card which is ready, you may place it on top of your deck or in your discard pile. So ready means you can use this card right away. They gave you 0 speed, but they do give you X amount of blood. At the end of the game, you have X for each wolf you have. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, this will come out and you'll just immediately gain X for each wolf you have. So you get more wolves, you get more power. So they're kind of collecting. This is Echo, and then we have Ajada, Bo, and Gray. So that's pretty cool. We have 4 different wolves. All the same abilities. We do have 2 different rats. We have Pacini and Weevlad, who's ready and permanent as well. Gain 1 speed per human who is worth 1 or 2 in your play area. So they'll bite on the weaker guys, give you extra victory points. We have some pigeons. We have Porabel and Tyson. Gain 1 victory point at the end of the turn where you don't hunt. So if you don't hunt for some reason, that's kind of helpful. Owls, we have Bagoli and Sova. So they do have they have the same ability here. They have that little square symbol, which is gaining a mission. It says inspiring. Gain 1 mission when you hunt with Sova, and the other one's just gonna say when you hunt with the other character. When you gain 1 when you gain a mission. Inspiring says pick 1 mission stack and take a mission as if you were on its space. So cool. If you hunt while you have them, you can gain extra missions all the time. We have Kappa or Capra and Nanny, our rams. Gain 2 victory points for each vampire you push, and they must choose to discard 1 of their permanent cards. Crazy. Snakes, we have Ka and Wiggles. You may digest Wiggles to digest 1 card from your playing area and gain 2 victory points. Otherwise, it's digest Ka. So basically, you play them, you can get rid of them to gain 2. Digest them to digest a different card. So it helps you thin out your deck. So help you get rid of them starter cards, potentially. We have Kuta and Kane, our 2 dogs. Gain 1 speed to hunt on wells, or you may discard Kane to have 1 extra hunt on the 1 column. So cool. Gain some extra different hunting options there. We have Ursa and Teddy, our 2 different bears. Ready, permanent, which we knew. Before you play, you may discard your entire hand to draw 2 cards. If you do, gain 1 and discard Teddy. So that's kind of cool. Discard doesn't remove him from the game. You just have to redraw him again to play him. But it's a great way if you have a really bad hand. We have Malik and Chop, our 2 boars or pigs. Gain 1 victory point if you hunt at least 1 human. If you do not move, you may hunt an extra time. That's pretty helpful if you need some extra hunts. And our final familiar is Naush, and Lockjaw are 2 black cats. Gain 1 victory point and 2 speed if you have +2 humans in your play area. So that's pretty cool. Got a bunch of extra familiars. They give you neat extra abilities that stay out and let you kind of dictate how you might be playing a little bit more. Then we have our roses. So we have 3 of these. We have the Eternal Rose, which will get you 5 victory points. It says ready, unique, and permanent. Unique means you can only have 1 copy. You can't have more than 1 unique card of the same type and category in your deck. Roses are the only unique cards at the moment. So you can't leave the labyrinth, go back and get all 3 roses, is what it's saying. But yeah, this is how much they cost to get. Or, I'm sorry, how much move they have. Gain 1 victory point at the end of your turn. So getting this, like, every time then you're moving throughout the rest of the game, you're always going to be gaining extra victory points. This is a very good reason to try and get to the castle, or get to the labyrinth and get this. If you get the Dead Rose, now you only get 3 instead of 5, but you still gain 1 at the end of your turns where you hunt. So not every turn, but at least semi. And then we have the Perfect Rose. Gain 2 at the end of the turns where you do not hunt. So you kind of have the option when you get to the end of which rose you would like to take. If you're going to be hunting a lot, you can get extra victory points. If you're not going to be hunting that much, you can gain victory points. Or you can just gain 1 no matter what you do. So kind of depends on your gameplay style, which is really fun. Alright, we're going to look at all of our humans. And this is going to be a little bit of a jog here. Alright, so we have Tyre. And I'm going to probably mess up a lot of these names. We have Murdoch, which says you gain +2 victory points if you hunt Murdoch in the forest area. So he's got a little forest picture on there. So yeah, if you can somehow wait till you're in the forest or get back to the forest again, you can gain some extra points. Peter, you may hunt Peter. You may guide just 1 card from your play area or discard pile. Harper, Isabel, gain 2 victory points at the end of the game if you have a rose. Arthur, Kassar, Ew, Archibald, Grant, Elegatine, Confused. Okay, so this is a this is a bad thing to have. Move 4 spaces away from the castle. So if you have this in play when you play this, she's not going to get you any speed, but every time you have her played, you have to play her cards every turn. You're going to keep moving away from the castle. So early on in the game, probably not a bad thing to have, but when you're trying to get back, this is definitely going to be a bad card. Now, I think everyone in here has had 0 speed, so the military is not helping you get through the board very fast. So that's not really their whole thing. Ivan. We have a Diego who has a -1. We have Titus who has a special new ability called Spicy. Permanent and spicy, so he just comes in, stays out. You may spend your speed to move cards to the nearest well. You must spend your speed to move cards to the nearest well. End of your turn, discard Titus if you're on a well. So it says you must use your speed to go the closest well, even if it's behind you or on a different path. You spend as much speed as you need to get there. If you don't have enough speed, spend it all to move this card and keep this in your player until you reach a well. When you reach a well, you must stop. You may hunt if you have any speed left. If you are between two wells, choose which one. If you're already on a well, you don't move this turn, but you can hunt. So spicy cards can be kind of powerful with the gaining victory points, but they're going to make you have to derail what you're trying to do potentially. Victoria, inspiring, gain 1 mission when you hunt Victoria. Kelvin, fast. It costs +1 to hunt Kelvin's pile. So whatever pile this guy's in, it's going to cost 1 extra point to hunt. So if you do the 3 pile, it costs 4. If you do the 1, it costs 2. The one exception would be if he's in the cavern, because he's face down, you can't see this ability. Marcel has holy water. You can't hunt this turn. So again, this would be a card that if you could play out, you want to try and discard. Siriana, gain 4 victory points in the game if you have Roxanne. Roxanne is way over in the villagers spot. So she's in the villagers area. So that's kind of interesting, like neat combination between those. We have Campbell, who has Confused. And then finally we have Eli. Gain 1 victory point in the game for each military you have hunted. Cool. These are our military guys. Our royals are Agnes, Mindy, Bridget. Gain +1 if you hunt Bridget on the plains. Marilyn, very distinct reference. And there's a lot of these cards are probably references to either celebrities or famous people. I just don't know all of them, so I didn't try and figure it out. Zara, Jack, Belle, gain +2 if you hunt Belle in the forest. Elise, who has Holy Water. Ophelia, Carlisle, Wentworth, and these are the nobles, all the rich people. Henrietta, you can tell by all their bling. Teresa, who has Confused. Wadsworth, Wilhelmina, Gregarious. Hunt the top card of the hunt deck when you hunt Wilhelmina. Yes, get you an extra card. Katarina, who also has Gregarious. Tiana. Baron Christian, gain 2 at the end of the game if you have Roxanne. It's kind of funny, 2 different people hunting after Roxanne. Prince Godfried and Varys. Gain 1 victory point gain for each noble you have hunted. So also noting, these guys don't gain you any extra speed. Your speed is going to come from your ability cards, not from your hunts. Your hunts are going to get you victory points and other special effects. Here's our religious people. We have, none of these guys have any movement either. Very few do. D, draw 1 card. Rufus, who has Spicy. There's some garlic there. Faith, gain +1 if you have hunted Faith on the plains. Mycroft. Osmo. Cotton. Mary. Eleanor. Bradford. Simone. Zelphenia. When you hunt Zelphenia, you may guide just 1 card from your playing or the discard area. Beloit. Holy Water. Friar Tunk. Father Eli. Slow starts on this second space. That's kind of the whole hunt track. Is they're on 3, they're still pretty quick, hard to catch. You need 3 speed. They get down to 1, they're all tired out from you chasing. Now you can catch 1 or more at a time. Right, gain 1 mission when you hunt right. Brother Stewart, the Priestess, Cantor Sammy, who has Holy Water, and Nimis. Gain 1 for each holy you have hunted at the end of the game. And finally, our villagers. We have Olnell, Billy, Bruce, who have a bunch of children we're going to eat. Notice the children, they'll give us 1 speed. Momo and Boo, which is very interesting. Anton, he's going to carry some spicy garlic with him. Boris, Ivo, Yaga, who has Gregarious. Roxanne, there's our favorite Roxanne. Kind of wish there was a yellow card that also involved her. Gentlemen, 1 color for, from each one trying to get her. Unis, who has Spicy. Angus, which has when you hunt him, you may guide just a card from your play area. Bippo, which has Confused. Rida, who has Fast. Patrice, who has Slow. Favoriana. Ipomi. Bernard with Spicy. Saleh, gain 1 victory point getting for each villager you have hunted. And then finally we have Jury, who has Confused. Yeah, so very interesting, very neat. You also see there'd be a lot of cool things, expansions could definitely add to this game, adding more different cards that interact with each other or different special abilities. All right, we're gonna look at our missions here quick. We have, I'm gonna go down here. So you have Treasure Hunt, discard and take any bonus token on the board. Vampire of the Coast, which is, this is clearly a reference to Wizards of the Coast, which is Richard Garfield created magic. Discard if you hunt a human in the plains to hunt 1 card in the same column for free. Digestion. Discard to skip your turn. Digest all humans from your hand and discard the others. Opportunist. Discard to gain 1 victory for each vampire closer than you are to the castle. Holier Than Thou. So these are end of the game things. The 5+ means only put these in if you're playing with 5 or more players. Gain 1 victory point for each holy you have hunted. We'll do each of the 2 at the same time. We have Varied Diet, gain 3 for each set of humans you have hunted, cumulative. And Collector, gain 1 victory point for each bonus you have collected. Picky, gain 6 victory points if you haven't hunted any humans who are worth 5+. Missionary, gain 1 for each mission you have that scores at least 1. Hankering, gain 6 victory points if you have hunted 5 or more humans of the same type. Limited to 1 type though. Devout, gain 6 if you have hunted more royal or more religious people than the other vampires. Zoologist, gain 4 if you have hunted more familiars than other vampires. Strategist, gain 6 if you have hunted more military. Family Business, gain 1 for each human of the type you have hunted the most of. Meh, gain 1 for each human you have hunted is worth 1 or 2. Hot Cuisine, gain 1 for each human you have hunted is worth more than 4. 3-Star Diner, 1 victory point for each hunter. Each human is worth 3. Eat Them All, gain 5 if you have hunted at least 13 humans. Royal, gain 1 for each royal character. Selective, gain 2 for each human the type you have the least you have hunted, can be 0. Gluttony, gain 5 if you have hunted more humans than vampires, than the other vampires. Tipsy, gain 4 for each human you have with Confused. Soldier's Life, gain 1 for each soldier you have hunted. Gourmet, 2 for each human you have digested, and Common Taste, 1 for each villager. So you can definitely see with these, because you start with 1, you can gain more as you go along. It's going to really dictate how you play the game. So we have, we're going to start just the first column. We have Wild Vampire. Discard if you hunt a human in the forest to hunt 1 card of the same for free. Vampire on top. Discard if you hunt a human in the mountains to hunt 1 of the same column for free. Beastmaster, discard familiar to hunt 1 for free and add to your play area. And Hungry, discard if you hunted a card in column 3 to hunt another card on the hunter track for free. Holier Than Thou, we've seen that one. We're just going to get, some of these are going to be duplicates. Catch Up, gain 10 if you have the lowest score of missions on the board. Dangerous Diet, gain 2 for each human with Holy Water, Confused, or Spicy. Picky, we've seen that one. Early Night, gain 6 if you have the first one to get back to the castle. Animal Lover, gain 1 for each familiar you have hunted. Landlord, gain 6 if you have hunted more villagers than other vampires. Romantic, gain 5 if you have hunted a rose. Rich Get Richer, gain 4 if you have the highest score before missions are scored. My Body is a Temple, gain 1 for each different spell or ability you have hunted. We've seen Meh. We've seen Hot Cuisine and 3-Star. Eat Them All, Royal. We have The Host. Gain 2 if you come back to the castle. Plus 2 for each vampire you beat back home. So that's better for a bigger game. On a Diet, gain 5 if you have hunted fewer humans than other vampires. Revolutionary, gain 6 if you have hunted more Royals and Other Vampires. So those are all different ones there. Then the last thing we have left to look at is the different tokens here. So these are treasure chests. So we have velvet clothing. There's 4 different ones. There's velvet hat, velvet boots, and then down here we have velvet scarf and velvet pants. So each one will immediately gain you an extra 2 when you pick up the token for a total of 4. So you get the 2 from the back side. They'll have 2 on there, and then the additional 1. Then we have the symbols you can see on the cards. We have the little vampire bat, which gets you an extra hunt this turn. The little star drop gains an extra mission, as if you're on space. Draw 1 card. We have gain an extra movement, gain 1 speed, gain 2 speed for the turn. We have the Parasol. You can play this 1 turn after the last turn, but without hunting. You can only play 1 extra turn, even if you have several Parasols. So it gives you an additional turn, which is pretty cool. We have this symbol here, which is discard a card, then draw a card. See a bunch of those. Then we have our 4 different symbols there. Each one of these counts as 1 human of the corresponding type, as if you hunted them for missions and majorities. So like lots of the rest of these, you use them and they go away. These ones stick around and you kind of like, hey, I got the extra ability. And we have the 4 one, which will count as a token of any type for the same thing. On the second side, we have all the same exact tokens, just more of the clothing. We also get 1 extra Parasol instead. We don't get the extra human things. Then they do have some replacements down there for those 2, and for that, just in case you lose a token, you can write 1 in. It's just kind of neat, just to fill up the rest of the board. Alright, that is what we have for The Hunger. I don't know what I did with my box. There's my box. Yeah, it's an interesting little deck building / kind of racing game. Just because it's, like, you hunt the humans, they're going to give you special abilities, but they generally don't give you more movement options. They're going to get you your points to win, and they're going to get that, but you have to keep, so if special abilities pop up, you're probably going to want to buy them so that you have more movement, so you can move quicker. Otherwise, you're only going to be able to move a couple of turns every time. I'd be interested to see in people playing this is how often it ends up being, do just keep playing and just keep moving straight towards the rows and turn around, come right back, and are you getting there with like ample time? Like, is the game designed so you're getting there generally around like turn 12, 12, 13, and then you have maybe like a turn or 2 to like spare if you did something different or got sidetracked? Or is getting sidetracked or maybe taking like the long route both ways like going to just lose you the game no matter what? It'd be very interesting to see how that could play over after several games. Alright, so that's what we have for this. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like games like this, let me know. I can try to check out different ones. We'll also be doing the expansion, which adds some new elements to the game. So you can check out that video when that gets posted as well. See you guys later. Bye.